Today I'm reflecting on the power of choice. So I've been thinking about choice and being aware of choice recently over the past few weeks. I've just noticed my energy has been a little bit low, a little bit shaky. I've been a bit anxious and I've really been paying attention to everything that's coming up. We can't really avoid the dips in terms of energy because it's just a part of reality. I've come to realize that duality and contrast and having things go from good to bad or from easy to challenging, like that's just natural, and it's a normal part of reality that we're going to have different seasons in our lives. And obviously we are always creating as well, which is the main message of this video. So we are always choosing in terms of the energy that we choose to maintain. So we can have a difficult thought come up, or we can have a negative thought come up, or like a limiting belief come up that makes us feel like we are stuck, or like we are disempowered, or like we are not good enough, or like we are not doing enough. So we can have all sorts of thoughts and we can allow them to come up and we can be aware of them. But if we choose to entertain that thought, we are choosing that reality. And so, yeah, I've had a very, very challenging time over the past few weeks, just energetically. I haven't been feeling very good energetically. I've been feeling quite anxious recently. I've been a bit foggy mentally in terms of just, I don't really have that clarity. And I know that when that happens, it's usually because I'm getting more and more disconnected from my true alignment, or I'm going unconscious again, or like my old behaviors, my old patterns, my old conditioning is taking over again. And so ever since I've started, or I've had my spiritual awakening, it's been a bit of an adjustment process to just like adjust to the change in energy. And I've noticed that as I go, and I develop and I grow and I start new habits that are healthier for myself, like journaling, like meditation, like eating healthier, like exercising, as I incorporate these things into my life, the things that are really in alignment with me, the things that I've always wanted to do for myself, as I incorporate more of those things, those to me are like high energy things because it's more in alignment with me. And so I'm lining up my actions with my values and with my desired outcomes, I suppose. And so that is what I've been doing over the past few weeks. I've been trying to the past few months actually, I've been trying to incorporate more and more things that are in alignment with me. And so as I do that, I feel the shift in myself energetically. I'm more aware of myself. I'm more aware of what I'm doing. I'm more aware of where I'm investing my energy and what is taking my energy, what is negative, what is not in alignment with me, what is an old pattern or an old behavior or an old interaction, relationship energy that I need to clear so that I can be in better alignment with myself and so I can be recentered. And so I've been looking into all of that, and when I started meditating and journaling and incorporating all of these things, I was really, really in a good space, and I was feeling all of that good energy, and my energy was increasing, and my vibration or my frequency, I would say, was increasing as a person because I started to have all of these positive behaviors, and that reinforced positive feelings and positive beliefs and positive thoughts. So I was in a really good place and I was feeling all that positive energy. But contrast is a part of our reality, and so naturally I knew that there would be a time where just naturally I would have to go back to some of the old patterns again, just to recognize and become aware again of those patterns. Like the ego mind is very conditioned and it's very habitual, and so a lot of the old beliefs and a lot of the old patterns are still laying dormant even when I'm doing very well. And it's because it does take a while to fully kick that, and I do see it as a process of evolution. And so what I noticed is that I try to stay in the good place. I try to stay in the good energy. It's not that I actively hope to experience the contrast, but I understand that contrast is a part of the reality, and so the contrast is coming. And so when I'm on a high vibe, there is going to be something that's going to come and test me. And that might seem cynical, but this is just something that I've observed in my own reality, is that life is full of highs and lows. So things will be going really well in your life, and then you might face a challenge, or you might have loss, or you might have, you know, just something that throws you off. I've come to learn that everything that comes to me is an opportunity for me to learn and for me to grow, but that comes down to choice again. So I allow myself to experience the challenge, and I allow myself to experience the difficult emotions, but in the past I wasn't really aware of it while it was happening. So I would experience the difficult challenge, and then that would cause me to spiral, because I'd get caught into the negative thinking about that situation, and I would get very low, and I myself wasn't in a good space. I didn't have good self-worth. I didn't have good habits for myself. I was self-harming. It was just a very negative space that I was in. And so at that time, I didn't feel like I had a choice. And so that is the point of this video. It's the power of choice. So firstly, the thing that I've come to notice about choice is that it all comes down to knowing that you have a choice, right? So we have free will as human beings. We can choose what we want to do. We can choose what we want to believe. So we forget this. We forget that we have a choice. And often our circumstances get so difficult and so overwhelming. And the conditioning that we've received all throughout our lives, from our parents, our friends, our teachers, from society, from everything, we have certain things that have been conditioned in us, certain beliefs, certain thoughts, certain behavioral patterns as well, that just we've come to grow into. And we forget that we always have a choice to relook at that. So when I think about energy, I always think about the fact that we are energetic beings, and we hold a vibrational frequency, and we are always attracting things to us based on what we are. So I've spoken about energy in one of my videos, and what I've come to really understand about the power of choice as it relates to energy is that we have the power to choose what we think, and we have the power to choose how we feel about a situation, as long as we become aware of it. And what I've come to realize is that even through my suffering, I still had the choice to do something that would take me out of that negative thinking loop, but I never did it. And so I felt like I was completely consumed by my negative thoughts and by my mind. I always say that, you know, in the worst times of like having mental health issues like depression, like anxiety, like issues with food, I always felt like I wasn't me. I felt like I was possessed by a very negative energy, and I felt like my mind wasn't mine. Like I felt like I really didn't have a choice at that time. And what I didn't realize at the time is that it was just the momentum of the trajectory that I was on energetically. So when I was experiencing depression and anxiety and I was suffering, I didn't realize at the time that I was in a negative thinking loop that was making those issues worse for myself. I never practiced my choice. I never practiced my personal empowerment because I felt disempowered. I felt like I couldn't do anything. And at the time, I didn't have the awareness to change that. So only much later on did I realize actually that I always have a choice in terms of how I'm responding to what's happening in my life. So when there's a difficult challenge that I'm facing, the challenge is there, and I need to accept that it's there, because often we have a certain reality and we resist what's happening. But if it's already a reality and it's already in the present moment and it already exists, then the more we reject and deny that it exists, the more resistance we will create, because we are fighting what is. And it already is. So the best thing is to accept what is, and then to make a choice about how I respond to what is. So instead of reacting, and again, I've made a video on reacting versus responding. When you react, it's an unconscious behavior. It's an unconscious conditioned pattern that is busy playing out. We are often reacting based on another situation that happened way in the past that was locked in energetically. And so we have a difficult challenge, and we can accept that it's difficult, and we can accept that there's a lot of negative thoughts coming up, but we still have a choice in terms of choosing how to respond to the situation that's unfolding. And often we forget that we have that choice. We forget that we can change the thoughts that we are thinking. So yesterday, for example, I woke up and I was incredibly anxious, and I didn't really know where it was coming from, because I was trying to understand what is the thought that's leading to this anxiety. And when I was thinking about it, I couldn't think of the thought. And I realized that my body was just having a physical reaction, and it was anxiety. And I was like, why am I feeling this anxiety? When does this anxiety randomly pop up? And I realized my anxiety pops up randomly, usually on a Monday morning. And the reason for that is because I have previously conditioned myself to believe that my job is very stressful, and so I dread Mondays. And then, because I'm dreading the stress that I believe I'm going to experience, so I assume that stress is waiting for me already. And so yesterday I thought to myself, let me challenge this belief that I'm going to have a terrible day and that it's going to be stressful. And I went about my day, and I was just being very aware the whole time that in my reality, what is happening right now, nothing is really wrong. So why am I feeling anxious? And then it's like, okay, this anxiety is stemming from a belief that I'm always stressed at work, and so my body's responding because I'm now working. And so the whole time I was just very aware of this, and I was being very aware of the fact that I have a choice and that I can choose empowering beliefs. I can choose to think thoughts that are going to make me feel better and not feel anxious. When we are, living unconsciously, we end up in a place where we feel like we don't have a choice, because we forget that we have that personal power and that we are always choosing, we are always creating. Our thoughts and our feelings often influence our behavior. And so if we are acting unconsciously, we often create things that we don't really want. We often do things and then we're like, why did I do that? I should have done this instead. Or we end up living in a place that is not aligned. And so it comes down to understanding firstly that you have a choice, and understanding what is driving your behavior. What are you valuing in your life? What is driving that behavior? And are those values in alignment with who you really want to be? Are you setting goals to constantly align with yourself? You have a choice to accept the reality as it is. You have a choice to constantly choose expansion and growth. And what that means for me is understanding that contrast exists, and that things are going to get difficult, and things are going to try to throw me off. And it's okay. It's okay to have contrast. Contrast is such a natural part of our reality, like night and day, good and bad, masculine, feminine, hot, cold. Contrast is such a natural part of our reality. Young, old. There's contrast everywhere. And so we need to understand that contrast is going to be a part of our reality forever, and change is also constant. So we are going to go from feeling each side of the spectrum emotionally, in our reality, mentally, but we are always choosing, and based on our choosing, we can actually create a reality that favors the light rather than the dark. So we can choose to experience more positive rather than negative, and that will eventually shape our reality. So the main idea is that we have a choice. And so we can understand that, things are going to go from positive to negative. We might experience pain, but we always have a choice. And if we have that awareness of that choice, we can actually start to manifest our reality and have a different outcome. So like I said, contrast is a constant part of our reality, but we don't have to get caught up in it. We don't have to get sucked in, and we don't understand our power. We don't understand that we are always manifesting our reality based on our thoughts, based on our beliefs about our reality. And we can bend our reality. We can manifest a different reality if we start to work with our energy, if we start to work with our personal power in terms of perception, in terms of our thoughts, in terms of our beliefs. We constantly have to put in the work to be expanding our consciousness, expanding our awareness, and that is how we start to embrace that personal empowerment of having that choice to respond to your situation rather than react. and to choose how you're going to do that, and to choose energetically, where are you coming from? Is your ego taking over? Is your mind taking over? Is this really what you want for yourself? You always have a choice, and you can choose to create your reality the way you want it to be, but that requires a lot of self-awareness, and that requires you to understand and to take responsibility for your energy and what you are putting out there, because what you're putting out there is what you're going to bring back to yourself. What you reap is what you sow. And again, this is all a choice. You have a choice to go and plant seeds every day that are in your favor. You can choose to nurture yourself. You can choose to nurture those seeds to feed your growth, rather than to, fall back into your old patterns that are negative, that are not good for you, that are self-destructive. When we take responsibility for our energy, and when we take responsibility for creating our reality, so this is creative accountability, we are always creating our reality based on the energy that we are putting out there. And so it's up to you what reality you create. So contrast is there, and it's an element. And again, it comes down to your choice, because contrast, good and bad, positive, negative, you have a choice about the thoughts that you think, about the feelings that you feel, about the way you perceive a situation. You're always choosing, and you're always creating your reality. And if we take creative accountability and we understand that, then everything that we create, we will understand somehow started with us. Again, it's about choosing where you focus your awareness, so that you end up creating things that are in your favor, rather than things that are destructive for you. So we are creator beings, and we continue to create. We continue to shape our reality. It's about understanding that and knowing that you have that power of choice, and choosing thoughts and feelings that empower you, and then choosing aligned action to get you to what you want to manifest, to get you to your goals. Choosing to always be in a good place with yourself. And if you're feeling like you're not in a good place, how do you come back to yourself? How do you ground yourself back in your body, rather than getting carried away with your mind? And this takes a lot of awareness to take accountability for ourselves, to shape our reality. And if you don't, then you end up living very unconsciously, and you create a reality that might not be what you really want for yourself, because you forget you have a choice. Being devoted to this path for me is always choosing awareness, choosing rather to be aware of the situation as it's unfolding, rather than reacting to it. Being aware of myself and what I'm doing and what I'm creating, and my interactions with others. And am I giving my power away to the other person? Is my ego jumping in, or am I more centered? Am I more aware? Am I embracing my personal power, or am I letting things throw me off constantly? So I've been really playing with this idea, and I've been trying every day to be more and more aware, and to really just anchor in that state of higher awareness of myself, of my environment. And I've noticed that it's working. Like, I've been journaling every day in terms of checking in with myself. Where am I energetically? Is this an ego feeling? Am I feeling like a victim today based on my circumstances that I've chosen for myself? And it's really been an eye-opening experience. The practice, the spiritual practice for me has been awareness, and it's been understanding that I am always choosing, and that the law of attraction is very much real for me, and I'm always creating my reality. And so it comes down to choice. What reality do I want to create for myself? And it's about focusing more on what I do want for myself, rather than what I don't want for myself. And it always comes back to the law of attraction. Where are you putting your focus? Where are you putting your energy? Because that is what is going to come back to you. Focusing on what you want, focusing on the solutions rather than the problems, has been another big reflection over the past week. And it's just brought me back to the understanding that, you know, in my awareness, the contrast of that is my ego mind. So in my new self, you know, the contrast of my new self is my old self, and my old conditioning, and my old patterns. And so I need to, again, constantly choose as I'm evolving from my old self into my ideal self. I prefer this self. I prefer my higher self. I prefer to embrace and embody my higher self. And so I have to constantly choose things that put me in alignment with my higher self. And that is the challenge, because reality will constantly throw us off, and we still have those old conditioned patterns there that are going to try and pull us back into our old ways. And if you want to evolve, and if you want to become the person that you've always wanted to be, you have to be aware, firstly, of the old patterns that are coming up, and then you have to consciously make a choice to align with your higher self. So Tanita asked me, do you want to go for a run? My ego mind was like, no, I don't want to go for a run, I'm tired, it's Monday. But my higher self was like, yeah, I do want to go for a run. And so I said to her, yes, I want to go for a run. And then I went for a run, and it was so good. It felt so good. I wasn't tired. It felt like such a good run, and it was so good for my soul. And I'm so glad that I made that conscious choice. And so that for me is the practice. It's constantly choosing to align with my higher self, to choose my reality, to manifest what I want based on my energy, and to be aware constantly of myself and what is influencing me, what is driving my behavior. Is this ego behavior that is taking over? Are these ego thoughts? Are these negative thoughts? Are these the things that I want to create? And constantly choosing every day to be more self-aware, to align more with my higher self, to engage in the practices that are good for me rather than the ones that aren't, and to prioritize myself, to prioritize my energy, and to again anchor in that state of my higher self. And this has been my practice, and I'm enjoying it so much. And you have to be devoted, and I've realized that I have to make it a priority to meditate. I have to make it a priority to journal. I have to make it a priority to reflect. I have to make it a priority to always put myself in a higher state of being, whether that is joy or just peace, love. So we are always either choosing love or fear. And so again, my higher self is always aligned with love and not with fear. And so I need to constantly choose love. How do I express love? How do I feel love? How do I appreciate and have gratitude for the things around me? That is love. And that is what we will manifest. That is what we will create. And so that has been my reflection, and that has been my practice. And every challenge that comes my way at work, in my life, in my relationships, I see everything as an opportunity again to bring awareness to what's happening, to not react unconsciously, to make a choice about how I'm going to respond in this situation. What am I going to allow to influence me and my feelings and my thoughts? Because we always have a choice, and we need to be accountable for that choice. And yeah, it's definitely been a process, and I'm still working on it. But I'm having a great time, and I think I'm getting the hang of it. I think I'm starting to learn more and more how to embrace that calm, peaceful state, and to not let my mind take over, to not let the anxiety take over. And yeah, I'm quite excited to continue exploring and reflecting on these things as they come up. And thank you so much for being here with me, and I'll see you in my next video.